What is up, guys, and welcome to another episode of my HLTV Fantasy. Today we are looking at EPL Season 19 Group E and D&D. First off, my lineup so far in A and B, it's pretty okay. BP is the one really letting me down. Vitality went 2-0. They're playing later today. Sin is also playing later today, but already he's basically done super well for his price, of course. So I'm very happy that I went with him instead of some of the other options. And yeah, VP also playing later today. I'm very much so hoping that they beat So and maybe get some good points. Getting Norbert on positive would be nice. Looks like around top 20 percentages, which is fine, but not really what I need probably on the fantasy leaderboard to actually get to those top positions. But not bad. For Group C and D, I think I already might have mentioned slightly my ideas here, but let's just go through each matchup. Mouse Banners Kangaroos, Mouse super favored. Ends Gamer Legion, I would say very close. I think I give the slight edge to Ends just because they've played us this lineup for longer. There's been some changes in the Gamer Legion lineup. I would say Ents are slight favorites, but also they haven't been very convincing either, so could go either way. Furia Liquid, I think Liquid are the favorites, especially with Furia also making a change here, bringing in Kai for art. It makes Liquid an interesting option in this group, because Liquid on paper definitely should make it to upper finals. Fortunately, they are pretty expensive. And also, I'm not that convinced that they're even going to go 2-0. Like, it's not 100% or anything. It could be any of these teams in some sense. But they are probably favored to do it. So if you want to gamble a bit more, I think Liquid is a decent gamble to go for just based on the bracket. Force Monty is like the weirdest matchup. It's Force with like Smooya and some CIS players. Monty with this new lineup, they still have Woro and Demka and Krasnal, but then Gizmi and Ryu. I don't know. I'm not convinced by either of these lineups. Could go either way. There's a small part of me that wants to like gamble on Smooya. He's like 190k. Guess maybe they make it even to upper finals through here. They definitely could beat this matchup, but I don't know. I'm not confident enough in picking really anyone up other than Mouse here. Mouse is I think it just makes way too much sense just based on the bracket. Group D, Complexity is an interesting option. They have Para in the first matchup. I think they should crush Para. Then they have Nip or Heroic in the second one. Heroic should be super favored. I'm not convinced by this Nip lineup. They still have, they're playing with a standing instead of res, by the way, instead of Kaspersky playing instead of res. They have the Academy stand-in still as Blue Phoenix. Like this lineup on paper is just such a weird one. I don't really see it working out. I don't even know who's gonna come into this Blue Phoenix slot to make it work. I don't think there is a player like that. And then Heroic is just a very decent overall team. I think they should expect they can lose like one matchup here against like a Complexity, that's fine. But they should always make it through. So Heroic is not the worst pick either. Like I think they definitely could beat Complexity. I think what I've been eyeing is going 1x Complexity, like one Complexity player. Because even though they have a slightly more difficult matchup in Heroic in like the upper semis, they could definitely win that as well. They have such an easy one versus Para, and also they have JT, who's super cheap as a fifth option. I was also looking at like an Elige and JT lineup, but I don't think that's what I'm gonna go towards here. Then the lower side, Big versus Boss. Big absolutely should win this. There's really no way that they should lose to Boss, which is just a mix of these NA players like Born Alone and Fang are known players. But yeah, Big should every time be able to win this one. But I wouldn't go for Big because they'd have to play up in upper semis against Navi, who I'm probably doubling up on. I rarely pick Navi or have picked Navi just because of the way like they have been a solid team for long, but I don't think they've had that winning mentality. Here, I do definitely think they have it. Also, the brackets haven't usually been in favor of them. But here, like Navi have probably, if not the easiest, at least the second easiest side of the bracket. I would say Navi and Mouse on paper have the best bracket. FlyQuest actually, I think, could pose some problems. They are a pretty decent team. But Navi usually take care of these lower ranked teams. I definitely am going Navi double up, I think. It's just a matter of who I want to double up on then. Like, there's definitely options there, but yeah, that's my thoughts. I think Navi, if you want me to make like upper finals predictions, I think it's going to be Mouse versus Liquid and probably actually Heroic Navi, but I think Complexity Heroic is going to be tight enough that go either way. Most picked players so far, there's Shuhei, makes a lot of sense. JT also, Alexi B. Honestly, all of these players are players that I've kind of thrown in and out of my lineup here. I think Shui is the kind of player who's gonna do at least decent against these tiers of opponents, and he's so inexpensive that I have a hard time not going for Shui. Kind of the same goes with JT. I think he is gonna farm Para. I think he's always gonna get pretty much above 1.0 rating here. And then he definitely has the chance to do that against Heroic as well. It just makes so much sense as a cheap option as a fifth filler player. I don't really see many other options for that fifth slot. I guess Muya is someone who you could think about just because of his price being pretty low. We know that he can frag. It's just low sample size. I wouldn't look at this 1.3 rating and think he's gonna put up a 1.3 here. Definitely not. But he could put up like decent stats if you wanna gamble on force. I don't think I'm gonna do that here. Looking through players, I think Big is an okay-ish gamble just based on the prices. Like Crimbo for 203 is decent. Yeah, as I said, Liquid pretty expensive, but then again, like a Twist could be a good pick. Just who do I pick after that? Maybe Cadian. I'm not convinced by any of these players, apart from maybe Twists, and of course Naf is really good, but just on the expensive side. Could make a Furia gamble. I don't think that's gonna work out. But yeah, I think the question is, like, if I go JT and I go Shui, who do I fill the rest of the lineup with when I go with all of this money? I think Wonderful is someone I kind of would love to pick. I think he's just incredibly consistent, and I'm really impressed every time I watch him play. He was insane in the major as well, I feel. Really, really solid overall. And yeah, I mean, I think he's just a great pick here. It's just a matter of how you line up the money after him. I think you could make a case for any of the Navi players. I was considering a JL lineup. You can't unfortunately go doubling up on those guys. Can't go for Bit either. Like, if I could make this lineup, I would have already done it. Like, I think this is just such an insane lineup. Just 1k off, unfortunately. Yeah, but there's no way of putting that up, I don't think. You'd have to go for a really questionable choice as your fifth to make that happen. So the question then becomes, how do we line it up? If I want to go for Shui, is it then an Ime lineup? Like Ime with Brolan could work. Or honestly, like, this floats a lot of money, but you can do something like this. This floats 7k. I don't know if there's a better option instead of JT then. Not really. I'm not really convinced with this. I don't think D has even an option. This is why it's a bit difficult to make a wonderful lineup, is because the money just doesn't line up that easily. This works a bit better already. I think you'd have to go for Ime. Ime is probably player I kind of want to pick maybe the least. I don't know. Like, honestly, if you look at his stats, I know a lot of people were like very hard on him for his stats at the major, but before that, look at these stats for him. Like it's not bad. It's not like the same as he was at Gamer Legion in the major. If you look at that sample, but like I think there's a very real chance that he does well at this event. I think it's probably gonna be the Ime Wonderful Shui Brolan lineup. I think this is just it. Brolan kind of similar story to Ime, where he had in not the major, like major was really good, but then Chengdu was a poor event for him. Then again, it was kind of poor for some others in the mouse camp as well. Was it? Am I misremembering? I might be misremembering. Maybe he was actually decent. Like a lot of the players were decent at Chengdu. Yeah, Shui was also really bad at Chengdu actually. Yeah, Shui has been struggling. I guess you could think about Alexi and Wonderful. No, this can't work. There's never enough money. 4k of Torji here. That would be great as well. But then you could go for JT here. It's just never lines up perfectly money wise here. Like it's a bit annoying, but there's a lot of combinations you can try, but I do also like Torji as a pick just in general. I think he really often performs in these group stages and such. I think he's a worse pick going into playoffs always, but before that I always like to go for a Torji if the money lines up well. If you go Torji Shui, who do you pick from Navi? It doesn't really make sense at all here, money wise ever. Like this would be it. Yeah, this is the one I had earlier already. That doesn't make sense, no. That also is like 4k, and then it just doesn't. None of these feels like it. I think I just need to make decisions on who I prefer the most out of these players. I think Wonderful is actually the priority for me. I really want Wonderful. If you want Wonderful, I think you probably have to fit in Shui. And we have 416. There's no way you can pick Bit. You pick Alexi, it has to be Yimi. Or if you go Ime, you pick Brolan, and that's like the decision you make. I think this is just the lineup I'm going with then, in this case. Yeah, I think this is just the lineup. I'll just make it a bit more symmetrical, just for the heck of it. Yeah, I'm okay with this lineup. It was always gonna be double Navi, double Mouse for me here, and JT. I think JT just has such high potential to be one of the best value picks in this event, and then Shui is a filler, but the kind of filler that actually can put up decent stats as well, I think. In this case, I think it has to be Shui as IGL. I don't think his roles are so weird. He doesn't really have great roles. And they probably make it to upper finals at least. I think it has to be Shui as leader. JT, but is he good on the eco-friendly? Not really. He's also a bit of a role nightmare apparently. That's a bit unfortunate. I really thought he had one good role. 28-39, 31-40. It might be no, it can't be Noob actually, with the matchups they have. And it probably has to be support on him, which is not great. I think main op on Wonderful. Actually not that good. I thought he would have more main op. 28-40. 42-40. Okay, we could go attacker on Wonderful. He's got really high T rating. 38-46. Yeah, I expected Brolan to have pretty nice entry roll. stats, we go for that. But Ime probably has better entry roll stats. Yeah. So I would say maybe Brolan on heads. I don't know. Rolls are super off in this draft as well. I don't think I wanna. Yeah, it probably has to be multi-fragger. I'd rather have multi-fragger than headshots on Brolan. Yeah, let's go multi-fragger. I think that's the one to go for. Like, shots on JD. JD used to be pretty down crisp with the headshots. I don't know what's happened that he's. I mean, there's always fluctuation in the headshot percentages, but yeah, I think it's the lineup. I'm not super happy with the rolls, but I think overthinking rolls is sometimes a problem that you can, or like a trap that you can go into, is thinking that rolls are super important when they're not the most important thing in the end. It's all about, usually it's mostly about who you, like the player picks in the teams. Usually you can quite well predict results for teams, and then you need to just pick the correct players from those teams. That's the number one thing. But okay, boosters, we can throw boosters on. It's best of 3 all the way, so I mean, this has to be, that has to happen. KST, wonderful against FlyQuest, that makes a ton of sense. Best pistol player is probably wonderful. Good boosters. 8 kills on him. That. JT. I wouldn't want to go assist if there's some better ones. Maybe assist is fine here against Pero. That's probably okay. And then Roland versus Bad News Kangaroos. Got multi-fragger on him, so maybe a quad makes sense. Aimbot. Him or Shui eventually. It's so much more relaxed when there's no BO ones assigning boosters. This is one of the better ones. Yeah, sure. Clutch. Maybe it's actually better quad here, and then clutch against a better opponent. Let's go for like quad, even though it's not the best in terms of stats. Like there's Wonderful and Dime who are a bit above. I still think quad makes sense here because we have like multi-fragger, so I'm gambling a bit on the fact that he's gonna have multi-fragging rounds. But okay, if you guys enjoyed this kind of content, please remember to leave a like and subscribe to my channel, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.